unfinished business television fans. Show your love for all things retro and movie magic by grabbing some awesome gear from 80sts.com. Your go-to spot for the best nostalgic t-shirts from your favorite movies, TV shows, and pop culture classics. Use promo code UBTV at checkout to save on your order and support unfinished business television. While you're at it, relive the classics or the memories. Shop now at 80sts.com with code UBTV.
Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. Jeff and I have been following you forever. Anytime we've seen
Oh,
you in
wow.
movies and shows, we recognize you almost instantly. Usually I ask like what got you started in the business, but I'm actually going to change things up a bit because you've been around for decades. Is there like, what was the moment when you realized you were so recognized for all of these films and shows that you've been in? Was there any particular project where it's just like, wow, people really know who I am?
Well, it's an interesting question. I got a frog in my throat. It's an interesting question because I expected to be. I never wanted to be an actor or in show business at all. I mean, that never occurred to me. I grew up in a very cloistered, almost smothering kind of family. I never got along with my father. I He would always interrupt anything between me and my mom. So it was very this dystopian. I don't know. It was a weird. So in my mind, I ran away when I was 15. I just said I got to get out of here. So I had no objective in life really. I just split. You know, I went to college. I did, and then I just cut all communications with my family. Just boom. The only person I contact. This is getting to your point. The only person I really had any communication with was my sister. Now she lives in Florida, but we get along. But that's the only connection I have to blood relative. Um, all my family, relatives are all down south and in Florida, blah, blah, blah. So I had no idea of what I wanted to do. I had got a degree in industrial design because my father paid for it. And I guess why he did that, even though we never got along, was because he figured if I get a profession like industrial design, I want to be an artist, like, see, I paint and stuff. Um, he figured if I went to college and got a degree, I could take care of him in his old age, which was the last thing that I would think about. So I just split. A friend of mine, Carl Gottlieb, who wrote Jaws, the movie Jaws.
Mhm.
He was my best friend in college, so I just hung out with him, and that was my connection to show business. But that was my only connection. In other words, I had no desire to be a writer, which he wanted to be, or an actor or anything like that. But every once in a while, I would do like a show, you know, like summer. He brought me to summer stock because I had nothing to do, when college break. So that was my introduction, and I could do it well. I found out, oh, I could memorize the lines. The audience liked me. If they gave me a funny part, I'd make the audience laugh. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll try this. From that point on, now this is like summer stock. When we graduated college, and I like graduated like first or second in my class. I mean, I wasn't stupid. In other words, if you put something in front of me, I'll do the best I can. If I leave it there for me to see, and I'll get into it. I don't have that kind of well, this is bullshit. No, I mean, I didn't know one thing from the other. So from that point on, this summer stock, just with a friend who brought me up there because I had nothing to do that summer, and it worked. I thought, okay, I'm going to be famous. I mean, it was just, the assumption was so idiotic. I mean, a summer stock up in Plattsburgh, New York. You're not going to be famous from there. The first season. I mean, I was like, 18, 19, however old you are when you graduate. So the one thing that said, oh, I'm famous now. It was so slow in coming because I always assumed, hey man, what's with this fame? Where is that? I said, let's get it going, man. And it wasn't happening. So it was so slow. It took years that there's not one thing. It was well, maybe that, boom, that, and then it started to. I guess here's the thing. I guess the thing that proved it, that I said, okay, I'm famous and I know it because here's proof, was several years ago, about, well, it's a long time, but 10 years. I mean, I've been in show business a long time. So 10 years ago, I've been in show business a long time before 10 years ago happened. But I was approached by, or I found out about Cameo. Do you guys know about Cameo? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I signed on because I wanted to get some money, more money, another income flow. And so I joined that, figuring, well, everybody's talking about it, and I did have, I would just start to get fan mail. That's like an inkling of it, but it's not fame, like Brad Pitt. So I, 5 fan mails is not Brad Pitt. I kind of knew that, but I signed on to Cameo, and I started to get a lot of income from it. And over the years, over the 10 years I've been there, I got a huge amount of money, about $100,000 or more.
Wow.
That, yeah.
Yes.
When I saw that figure, because they Cameo keeps a tabulation from the first day you start, and they just keep adding it, and you can go check. How much money have I made through you? Because I would just get a check like for $37 or this or that, but it kept mounting, and it was just continuous. Because you have to talk to the fans and stuff. So I was, but one day I just checked just to see. Hey, I wonder how much. I've been with, and I was making like $50,000. And I go, I must be famous. So so that was the proof, but that was long after I was famous. In other words, I didn't know about it because I never, like I tell people, but it's true. Do you hear that they're reinforcing the building? Okay.
No, I don't hear
Yeah,
anything.
I hear it slightly, but it's not a problem. I can hear you fine.
Yeah, okay. So, it was very slow in building, but I would get fan mail and stuff, but I don't follow me. In other words, I don't pay attention to that because that summer in summer stock sticks with me. The beginning, the first time I was on the stage. I mean, I did stuff in high school, but that was like high school, blah, blah, blah. Just something to do. Oh, to get friends. Hey, I'm a funny guy. You know. So, there's a Dear Ruth was the play, and I've done some weird stuff, which made me think maybe I should proceed with this acting thing. I don't think of myself as an actor. I really don't. I'm just a guy who can act with other people. I studied with Second City, and then about 5. So that's my training. It's not acting. Improv is not. It's a different kind of acting, but it's on stage and there's an audience, and that's acting, I guess. but I never thought of myself as acting. It's just I can do this well, improvising. Second City, and then we went to the committee in San Francisco. So that was like you gather information to finally figure out that, oh my God, I'm famous. And then I would start getting emails from Germany and India. I'm big in India. Uh, Mr. Heckles is big in India. Uh, and Germany too. I don't know what I guess Vince Gilligan Breaking Bad is big over there. So I mean that's like another country, and that's like across an ocean. So that's how the fame thing. But I don't believe in it. I mean, I live in a neighborhood, and that's my world. Is my neighborhood. I don't hang out with actors. None of my best friends. One or two actors. When I discovered just now, when I was trying to get online, when I was writing to a friend who had an argument yesterday. So I'm writing him an email. Hey man, who the hell do you think you are? you know, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I've got a Zoom cast. So I don't pay attention to it, but it comes to me, and that's fine because seeking fame is is like pounding on the door to hell to get in. What the? I mean, why are you? It's not. It's not unless you want to be an actor, which I don't have that drive. I just want to make some money and be famous. I don't care how. That has nothing to do with it. Uh, because I have a personality that works well on stage or in a movie. Um, I wrote a book called That Guy. I don't know if you guys know about it, but I wrote a book
Yes.
about all the movies I was in. Or now podcasters have told me, I've never looked it up. I don't know, but podcasters have told me that I've been in over 200 movies and TVs, feature
Oh
film.
yeah.
That's not my research. That I've been told. So I buy it. Okay, hey, you're a podcaster. You know what's going on. So if you think, I did 200, then but then they said, that's pretty high up. I mean, there's very few actors have that many credits. Um, and so that was what one of the things we were arguing about yesterday about. He was saying, you're Peter Pan. You have Peter Pan syndrome. You're just living in your head, Larry. What are you talking about? 200. What the hell are you talking about? I'm out there, man. You know, uh, so, but like I say, my friends, he wasn't sure. He dropped out a long time ago. I mean, now he also disses Hollywood. So um, yeah, my neighbor, I live about 5 blocks from the beach. I used to be a lifeguard in Far Rockaway when I was in high school. Yeah,
Wow.
so the beach is where I kind of go to. So I live near the beach, but that's kind of the fame thing. It's not forefront in my mind. It's just a nice thing to talk about. But I'm not an actor. I'm just an interesting person. That's about the most I can brag about. But and I get calls every once in a while. I haven't had an agent or a manager in about 10, 15 years. But so if you want to get in touch with me, you have to find out through Wikipedia or how to get in touch with me because people call me on the phones. Like last week, I got a call to do a film shoot. Anyway, that's the fame thing.
W- would you consider yourself an artist because you're like kind of a jack of
Yes.
all trades? And
Yeah, I consider myself a poet and an artist. I'm a writer. Uh, that's what I can do, and that's like a profession to me. That's like an artist. That's like a painter, or I write books, or I write poems, or I write. It's healthy. It gets it out. It gets it out on the page. Like for instance, the book called That Guy, which I wrote 2 years ago about all the movies and televisions I've been in with a jaundiced eye. I mean, it's called That Guy, I forgot the subtitle of it. Oh, A Cautionary Tale. It's not about the hoopla and the fame. It's about the bullshit. It's about all the crap you have to go through, man, to be an actor. That's why if you want to be an actor, you got to work your ass off to be famous. I never worked my ass off. I just, I would audition and either get the job or not. It's no big deal to me. A lot of times auditions just interrupted my day. I mean, man, I got to go all the way out to the valley. I live in Santa Monica, and most of the movie stuff is in the valley. So that's like 45 minutes and an hour and parking and memorizing lines, for the audition. I mean, for somebody who's not interested in being a famous actor, that's kind of BS. So, like for instance, and people, but here, I guess this is the attraction. I'll tell you, I eventually got co-star billing in Escape from Alcatraz, a big Clint
Yes.
Eastwood movie. Now, I got a call from my agent, and he said, "Hey, get out to the valley immediately." Why, man? I'm thinking this is really interrupting my day in the valley. Couldn't be closer. But he says, no, they're closing in an hour, and it's going to be a big movie. It's going to be a big hit. It's Clint Eastwood. It's Don Siegel who's directing. I got a cold. Okay, so big, get out there now. What are you doing? I'm doing stuff, man. I'm writing. Okay. He says, get out there now. You got to go now. Okay. So they said they're closing in an hour and it's a minimum 45 minutes to get there. So I'm driving out there. It's a long drive, and it's wasting gas at the time. This is a long time ago, Breaking Bad. Escape from Alcatraz, 1970 or 71, something like that. So I wasn't doing great. I could pay the rent. So I'm thinking there's a lot of trouble just to pay the rent, to, drive and goes, okay. So right away, I have a bad attitude going in. Just, a driver's bad attitude. That thing, fuck you. I'm getting out there. I go in. Now, one of the things my agent said was Clint Eastwood is going to be reading with you. Well, that's okay. I can meet Clint Eastwood. Maybe that'll get me famous. That'll. Okay, so I go in there, and Clint Eastwood isn't there. So that's another. Oh man, see, this is what I'm talking about. So I just said now there's an empty. Oh, and then they said my agent said, well, I said, what is the part? And they said, well, they didn't tell us that. They just said they want they need somebody to play a certain part. Send us somebody who you got. There was no information that was given to me. Generally, they send you the part so you can memorize and have something to read from when you go into audition. None. They said they'll give you the part and they'll tell you what it is when you get there, which is another like hang up. That's not a good way to go into an audition, not knowing what you're auditioning for. That becomes a problem. Memorization, and I'm dyslexic, so that's even worse. So you see why I don't want to be an actor. It's starting to pile up now. So I go in there, and all there is Don Siegel, who I didn't know, but he's a great director. I mean, he is. He's done a lot of really cool stuff, movies that I grew up on. So there he is. But I didn't know this. I didn't know what he looked like. And they didn't tell me it's Don Siegel. And if he did, I didn't even know the name. That's how not interested in movies I was. But there's Don Siegel and just a one woman who's the casting director, whatever that means. But Clint Eastwood isn't there, which is another bring down. At least I thought I would meet Clint Eastwood. No. So I just sit down, and the first thing he says to me, I said, "There's just 3 chairs in an empty room. Nobody else is auditioning. The place is empty. It's like everybody went to lunch when Larry Hankin showed up. Just empty. All it was one secretary." So I go up to her and I say, "Do you know anything about audition here for Escape from Alcatraz?" Now, I'm telling you, I got co-star billing from this bullshit that I'm going through. That's crazy. Okay. I didn't know that at the time. So I'm going through it and I say, "Do you know anything about Escape from Alcatraz?" "Oh yeah, you Larry Hankin?" "Yeah." Yeah, well just wait and they'll call you." So there's a so I said, "Do you have a part? Do you know what I'm auditioning for?" And she says, "No, I don't have any of that information, but I do have a script, a 90-page script." And she says, "How about this?" And she puts it on the counter and I go, "I can't read this. It, I'm going to go in 5 minutes. This is 90 pages. Besides, even if I could read it all, I don't know what to read. In other words, I don't know which part it is." I'm really getting worked up. See,
It's okay.
very easy. Okay. So she says, "Well, that's all I have." And she just blows me off because he's one of those freaking actors, man, with an attitude. I mean, she's seen me before, they all have. And so I put it in my lap. Okay. And as soon as I sit down and put it in my lap, then nobody else around, the door opens and this woman says, "Are you Larry Hankin?" "Yeah." "Are you ready?" "Yeah, I'm ready. Let's just do this. I want to go home." I mean, that's me thinking. This is not working out. This is not working out. So I go in, and there's just 3 chairs. There's Don Siegel. There's this woman, casting director, and there's one for me. So they say, "Sit down." I sit down, and then Don Siegel looks at me and says, "Okay, so well, what are you here for? What part are you here for?" And that just okay. So then the top blew. I said, "I don't know," and I said it like that, which is not a way to go into an audition. You got to be subservient and cool. You know. And I said, "I don't know. Nobody's telling me anything. They said that you would tell me." So he goes, "Okay, okay," and he turns to her and he says, "What do we got?" So she says, "Well, we got the guard who beats him up in the cell when he's in Clint Eastwood's in solitary confinement, and there's Charlie Butts." So he says, so Don Siegel looks at me and he says, "All right, the guard, Larry, do you think you can beat up Clint Eastwood?" And I go, "No, no." He goes, "I didn't think so." So, I mean, this is going nowhere, man. So he says, "Well, what do we got?" And then all of a sudden she interrupts. She says, "No, no, wait a minute. The warden is the guard is already we cast that this morning. So all we got left is Charlie Butts." And he turns to me and says, "You want to do Charlie Butts?" And I go, "I don't know. I don't know." He says, "Well, you got the script there." I was still holding it in my lap. He says, "Yeah, but I didn't read it. They just gave it to me like 10 seconds ago." And then she comes in and she invites me in here. So I'm losing it. I'm totally losing it and I want to go home. And he said, "All right, calm down. I'll tell you what, turn to page 91." Okay, He says, "I'm going to read with you. Is that okay?" "Yeah, sure. It's okay with me." I mean, I'm gone already. I'm going home. I'm driving home in my head. I don't want to be here. Um, it was too big a cell and too big a down. I'm on the floor now. So I said, "All right, fine." He says, "No." He says, I turned to page 91. He says, "You mind if I read with you?" I said, no, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine with me. He says, you want to go outside and, look it over? I go, no, let's just get this, let's just get this over with. So he says, okay. And he's like smiling, the director is smiling at this. So I go, so he reads blah, 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 blah. I says, we're just going to read the one page. Okay. Yeah, it's fine with me. I've already left. So now I'm calm. I'm cool. I know what I'm going to do. As soon as he stopped talking, I'm going to leave. Great. And I can go on with my day. So he says, okay, blah, 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 blah. And he says, okay. Look, he says, okay, you're Charlie Butt. You're Charlie Butts. You got the job. I don't say anything. I just sit there and I stare at him because this fucking guy is playing mind games with me now on top of all this. Because I know I've auditioned enough and not gotten the job, but I also talked to other actors. They don't tell you that in the audition because they have to now go and look up, how much you get and, if you're healthy and uh, they just have to do research on so they don't tell you. They phone the agent. I think they don't like actors. They don't like any. I mean, I guess they get a lot of people with attitudes, so they don't tell you. So I didn't believe him. So I just say, he says, okay, you got Charlie Butts, got the part. So I just sat there and I stared at him like, oh man, you guys are all the same, you people, you assholes. And he says, you don't believe me, do you? Just like that. He goes, you don't believe me, do you? I said, no, I don't. I don't believe you. And he goes, okay, tell you what, go home, sit by the phone and see what happens. Okay. Now get the hell out of here. Okay. And I just turned and walked away. I didn't say goodbye, nothing. I just, okay. And I go. As I walk in the door, because it's 45 minutes to get home. As I walk in the door, the phone rings. And it's my agent. He says, hey, man, what did you do, man? You got the job. That's cool. That's great. And now I'm, oh, wow, man. Oh, boy. Now, for years, I wanted to know. I never asked them. I should have, because we became friends on the set, me and the director. And Clint Eastwood, too. I mean, he's a cool guy. They're all cool. I mean, if you can get over that first meeting of are you a weird actor or are we going to, you know? And so once they saw that I was cool, once I had the job, um, uh, we were fine. And the part of Charlie Butts was very small, which was fine with me because I'm dyslexic. I don't like to memorize large lines. It's a lot of trouble, which I guess is another reason why I don't want to be an actor. Once you really start getting good, which I started to get good, they started giving me bigger parts and I'd have to turn them down because it was just too much to learn in the time before they had to shoot. And then sometimes I would have to give instruction, or my agent would give instructions saying, Larry has to get the finished script first, along with the producers. He needs that time if you want to use him. So there was a word got around that Larry gets the script first because I have to memorize. But after a while, it just got too big, and I said, just forget it, turn it down. Okay. Every day I would come, it was a small part, so I would come dressed in costume, which is, a prison uniform, blue shirt, jeans, white socks, black shoes. That's it. So every day, and I had to catch a boat at 8:30 in the morning. That was the only way. If you missed that 8:30 boat, you were. I mean, because the next boat was the next morning. They only had one boat. Oh, well, 10 boats, but they all left at 8:30 in the morning. And then they came back at 8:30 at night to take us back to the mainland. And in between, the reason there was no back and forth was because they were tourist boats. So they worked during the day with tourists. So the only time they had was 8:30 in the morning, and after they finished, 8:30 at night. So that was so every morning, even though I had a small part and I was there for 3 months, I maybe shot from the script maybe 7 days, maybe. Oh, but I was there every day because I wanted to see how they made. This is when I was young and learning about making movies. I maybe wanted to direct, but I wanted to see how that was done. It was the biggest thing I'd ever been in, was this movie. So I was there every day, and every day I would stand by the camera or Don Siegel and watch how he directed and what the actors were doing, which was an education for me. It really was cool. But since I was there and in costume, every once in a while, the director would turn to me and say, "Larry, get in there." I'd say, "Okay, what am I doing?" He says, "It doesn't matter. Just get in there." And it's just disconcerting because, you want the director to pull you aside, put his arm around you and say, "Larry, this is a big thing. And here we got to, and you got to have a backstory. Just get in there." And I go, "Well, what am I doing?" "It doesn't matter. I just need a body in there." That's what he would say. "I just need a body in there. Get in there." But he would tell me to do stuff, once he saw that I would try to just fit in. I didn't try to be a star. I just try to be a convict and do what a convict would do. I'm trying to help him out, Don Siegel. I'm trying to help Don Siegel out. But but in the rushes, he would watch me, Don Siegel. He would say, "That's pretty cool." And so the next time he said, "Yeah, get in there." So like one time, am I going on too long? Is this like,
No, no, no.
oh, so the next time, um, the where we became friends, where Don and I became friends was, what was the scene? He, um, oh, okay. So it was a close up of Clint Eastwood and McGowan, the other star, the warden. It was it was their profile. So we're on tier C, and the camera was hanging out over the railing. That's 3 stories down. The camera was, so they're shooting the into the um, into the cell. So, and that back window at the bars, and they were on the gangway, in front on the tier, and it was a close up of them this way, the profiles. And he said, "Get in the cell, get in the cell." So I said, "Okay, what am I doing?" He said, "It doesn't matter. I just need a body in there." So finally I said, "Why? Why do you need a body in?" So he said, "Because all I see in between these guys is a cell window with the bars." He says, "That's not interesting." Now, I worked with Fellini when I was very young, and he told me something. I asked him, I asked questions, even though, "Hey, Mr. Fellini, can I ask you a question?" "Yeah, yeah, what is it?" "Yeah, whatever the accent is." "Yeah, what is it?" I said, "When you frame stuff, your backgrounds are really interesting, and not many people take the time to make the backgrounds that interesting. Oh, how do you work out the framing? And don't you feel that you're going to lose the information that is in front of the camera?" He said, "Well, here's my thinking, Larry. Um, what you have to frame is what you want them to see and know, like the stars and what they're saying. But so that's what you want them to watch. But sometimes the audience doesn't want to watch what you want them to watch. So I give them something else to watch, the background. That's why I frame the way I do. It's for the people who don't care what I want them to watch." And I thought, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So that's what Don Siegel was doing. So I said, "Okay, how long do I have before you're gonna actually shoot the scene?" So he says, "5 minutes, they got a light." So I ran down to the prop department, which Warner Brothers graciously had moved out onto the island. So we didn't have to, go back and forth with a boat to, get a hammer or whatever. So I said, "Look, I'm in a scene. I'm in a rush. Give me some checkerboard and some checkers." Figuring I'd just be playing checkers there because that's what prisoners will do a lot. So nothing big deal. So I said, Give me, you got any checkerboards?" He says, "I don't have any checkerboards." And I go, "They spent all this money getting all these props here. It's a prison movie. No checkerboards?
Wow.
All right, we're all right." And then the AD comes down and says, "Hey man, they're finished lighting. They need you upstairs." So I go, "Okay, give me something." He says, "What about a chessboard?" And I'm thinking, no, Charlie Butts wouldn't know how to play chess. Give me the chessboard. Give me the chessboard. I'll work with it. I'll work with it. Okay. So he gives me the chessboard and the chessmen. I run upstairs. I run into the cell. "Oh, where the hell you been?" I was down getting this. What he didn't even see it. Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, so now they're gonna shoot. Okay. All right, take one and Clint Eastwood, McGowan. Okay, and they're talking, and in the middle of the scene, Don Siegel yells, "Cut! Hankin, come here." Oh man. It's not cool when they mention your name on the set. It's not cool. Gonna be trouble. So he says, "Come here." So, oh man, all right. So I come in, he says, "Yeah, what?" He says, "What the hell are you doing back there?" I said, I'm playing checkers." "You got a chessboard back there. You're playing checkers with chess?" I go, Yeah." He says, "Well, what the hell is that all about?" So I said, he mentioned the fact that it was me, Larry Hankin, playing checkers with a chessboard. That's what he says. He says, You're playing checkers with a chessboard." I go, "No, no, no, no. Charlie Butts is playing checkers with a chessboard. Charlie Butts doesn't know how to play chess, doesn't know how to play chess. So all the checkers boards are out to other prisoners. So I'm playing checkers with a chessboard because I don't know how to play chess." Charlie Butts. "Oh," he goes. "So Charlie Butts is playing checkers with a chessboard because he doesn't know how to play chess. Is that what you're telling me?" "Yeah, but I don't have to do that. I don't have to do anything. I can just sit there." He says, "No, no. I just want to know what you were doing back there. Now go back in there and just keep what you're doing. I was just curious. All right, take two. Let's go." Boom. So that was how it went. So that kind of that he saw that I really was intelligent and thinking for the character and not just to please him or blah blah blah. And he thought, well, the kid knows what he's doing. I mean, he's got a mind. So we became friends, and so after that, for the next 2 months or so, he would just put me in everything, and he would give me lines and stuff. And at the end of the movie, when I went to see the cast and crew screening, I see the titles and it says co-starring Larry Hankin and two other guys. I mean, so in other words, I don't have the mentality or the emotional fortitude to be an actor because I mean, it just drove me nuts. I must have slept for two weeks just when the movie was over. But I appreciated him, and what it taught me on the good side was people are watching. You don't know who is watching. You don't know if it's gonna be a hit, you don't know what it's gonna miss. You go in, do the best you can, and somebody out there may be watching who's important, you know? Like, I mean, I didn't get that because of only Don Siegel, but even Clint Eastwood, when he watched my rushes or the rushes of the movie, they said, "Ah, the guy's, he's pretty cool." you know? Now that I watch it, I think it's my best work, and it was my best work because I wasn't acting. That was Larry Hankin up on the screen. In other words, I didn't know how to act, so I made up a backstory, and it turned out to be true. The backstory was that Charlie Butts was in the wrong prison. He was a car thief, and everybody in there was like killers or, major badasses. So he hung around with Clint Eastwood so he wouldn't be somebody else's girlfriend or get the shit kicked out of him. And so he was just kind of mute or, Buster Keaton was what I had in mind. He was, just I don't wanna I don't wanna be overboard on anything. In other words, the opposite of what I auditioned. But Don Siegel saw through my anger. He saw that this guy doesn't know what's going on, and that's what he needed. That he saw my confusion and that I wanted to go home. He read that. I mean, he's really a good director. He knows what's good and what's bad, and he doesn't know how to act. He's lost. That's what I need from Charlie Butts, a guy who's lost. So, I don't know, that's my story.
So,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I want to bring you on, and I love Escape from Alcatraz, and you were fantastic in that. But Running Scared is a movie I've watched God knows how many times. You playing Ace, the
Yeah,
mechanic to
yeah,
Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal, and you're sort of like the Q of the movie, giving them that souped up taxi with the bulletproof windows. So their chemistry was already natural. Like I didn't
yeah.
know if that half that stuff was scripted. So my two questions for you: your two scenes with them, were they scripted or improvised? And do you remember if there was ever a talk of a sequel to that?
Okay, no, it wasn't improvised, we were on script totally, but those 2 guys had done a lot of movies, and I was still a young actor who hadn't done a lot of movies, so I looked up to them. I mean, just as because they were famous and I had seen, Billy Crystal and I thought he was a funny guy, and I was a funny guy, but he was way funnier and more famous than I'll ever be. And so was just feeding off their energy. I wasn't acting, that was Larry Hankin. So I think that's what all the stars do, like the big stars. They finally can be relaxed enough in all of that attention and lights and cameras and memorization and go over there and don't do this, but sit that they can just relax under all that pressure. And that's what I think that's how you become a star because the camera loves that. I'm quoting now. That's not a phrase of mine, but but that's how they talk. The camera loves that. Yeah, the more relaxed you are, the more the more of you goes into the lens is kind of how I kind of figure it out. And if you're too nervous, the camera just picks up on that, and people in the audience just that's too much. That nervousness, it doesn't work. It doesn't. And my my way of being uptight is to get really relaxed, uh, and that's kind of psychologically that's one of the key upsides of dyslexia and what is it, ADHD, is that those kind of people. There's another one, OCD.
Mhm.
Those three: dyslexia, OCD, and ADHD. Those three you really want to be with in an emergency because that's just a natural instinct of that disease or whatever that is. It's not a disease, but yeah, it's a way your mind is configured. They get really calm as everybody else is starting to lose it. And so they'll say, no, let's go this way, you know, and they generally make good decisions. Later on, when how come you, and it turns out, oh, the guy had ADHD, I mean, we're kind of not cool in just ordinary situations. We'll lose it or do this, or as I explained. But when push comes to shove, they get really calm. I mean, that's their reaction. That's what their body does. So um, I guess that's what stars learn, but it's called acting. Just man, you just gotta calm yourself down and just be the person. That's all I do. I just get calm and just become the person. I don't have any method. I pretend, that's all.
My question is, when you're working on a film like Armed and Dangerous, where it's more comedic talent, you have Eugene Levy, John Candy. It's scripted, but was there more room for improv, like, or different takes of improv on
Okay.
that film? Mm.
Yeah. By the way, the answer to that last question is so I was just feeding off their energy, and we were all scripted, but I was trying to be as relaxed as they were because they were just bouncing around. I
Yeah.
guess they knew
Mhm.
each other before, so they had a
Mhm.
relationship way before the movie,
Yes.
and I was a new guy, so they were just joking around and doing the lines, but with their calm and easiness, and I just kind of copied it, so it looked like but no, I was scared shitless. I'm sorry, okay. Yeah, answer me that question again.
Oh, oh, well,
Um,
like when you're working on a film like Armed and Dangerous, where you have more of a comedic director,
oh,
you have
right.
Eugene Levy,
Okay,
John Candy.
okay. That was kind of, again, along the same lines of what I'm talking about. Okay, no, it was all scripted. Okay,
Mm,
but my character was, K Kowalski or something like that,
Yeah.
something,
mhm,
right?
mm,
Okay, so, basically, the character was written to be on LSD. Now, I had taken LSD and I'd gotten high, so I just played him high, figuring okay. Now and this has happened to me on other films where I had to be like a drug person as a character, but this one was incredible. So, I get in costume. Now, in a lot of these things, you audition, you don't audition if the director isn't there, and you just sent to the stage. You're sent to where they're shooting, and you meet the director for the first time, which is what Armed and Dangerous was about. I only met the director when I was in costume on the set,
Mhm.
and I was trying to, be kind of loose. I was, practicing just being relaxed and stuff. And I noticed that when he was talking to the other actors, James, the director, James. I don't know what his first name was. Well, if that was his last name, but I saw when he was talking to the other actors, he would talk to the other actors like any other director would talk to the other actors. But when he talked to me, he would talk slow and loud and in very short pieces. Larry, I want you to just go over there and stand over there. Okay? Yeah, okay. Okay, and then he wouldn't come near me at all for the rest of the time unless he had to tell me something about what I should do, and he never gave me any directions on how to act. He would just say, "Okay, now that's huh? So the movie's over." Oh, okay, so that's one thing, keep that in mind. Okay,
okay. Mm,
got to the junkyard scene where so in the script, uh John Candy, me, and, the other guy, I can't remember his name, I never can.
Eugene
Anyway,
Levy.
mhm.
who?
Eugene
Eugene
Levy.
Levy. Mm,
Yeah, Eugene Levy. We're sent out, they said, "Okay, you're gonna be picked up in a car tomorrow morning, and you're gonna, be driven to this junkyard out in the boondocks with a camera crew, 2nd unit." So second unit is 3 guys, uh, a cameraman, a sound man, and somebody to load the camera or something like, or to help the other 2, and 1 camera. And he said, "Well, what should we do?" So the director said, he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to either he would talk to Eugene or John. He would never talk to me and tell me what was gonna happen. He'd say, John, he said, "Well, go out there and just find clues." We were supposed to go out and find clues. I don't remember the plot of the movie, but we were supposed to find clues, and we were sent to the junkyard, which is kind of funny. You're looking for clues in piles of garbage. Okay, I mean, I get the premise of the scene. But when we got out there, it was just 6 guys and a camera. That was it. And so when the car dropped us off, with the equipment and stuff, and then drove off, the car just drove off and said, "All right, we'll pick you up in, 3 hours," or whatever. We were just looking at one another and said, "Well, what do you wanna do?" And so we said, "I don't know, let's look for clues, look for funny stuff, look for funny stuff." So I don't know who said that. Maybe it was Joe. Probably it was John Candy. Just look for funny stuff. So I'm looking around, and it just seemed, and the cameras wouldn't be filming any of this. We'd have to come back and get an okay from the cameraman, the guy working the camera. It was a guy about 24 or 25. He said, "Is this funny? It's a piece of garbage, like "Is this funny? Can we find this?" And he goes, "I guess so. Okay, just, stand over there and pick it up, and I'll film it." So it was like, going nowhere. So we had nothing to work on, just find clues. Well, okay. So then finally, we about a half hour, 45 minutes into it, John Candy, because we had no director, we had no script and no director. So we're just wandering around thinking, "Hey, is this funny?" Guys wandering. That's what it was. Guys wandering in a junkyard, picking up shit and going, "Is it funny? What do you think?" So, finally, John said, "All right, look, hold it." So he, like, took over, which is all we wanted, somebody to take over. He said, "All right, look, here's what we're gonna do." And he turns to the cameraman, the guy, and he says, "All right, what do you see here that would be funny, that would look funny? What looks funny to you?" So he's looking around and he sees this huge pile of garbage. I mean, it was at least 2 stories high. Well, it's in the movie, that thing that I climbed.
Yeah.
So he says, "Yeah, that would be kind of funny." So John calls me over and he says, "Larry," and he hands me an old shoe and a toothless comb. And he says, "Here, Larry, find these 2 things on top of that garbage hill." And I go, "Oh, man, are you serious?" He says, "Yeah, go ahead." So I had to climb up that garbage hill. Garbage isn't all steel and paper. It's like a lot of rotten food and shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm crawling through this. It's 2 stories, man, and I'm clawing up the rubble, and I go, "Oh, man, this if my father could see me now." "Hey, dad, I'm doing it, man. I'm making the big bucks." Get up there, and I say, "Okay," so then it was my idea that so I was he said, "Are you ready? Okay, Larry, you ready? Okay, camera ready." John is directing. "Camera ready. Larry, you ready? Okay, and look for the comb in the shoe and find them. Action." So I'm looking and like, "Oh, I found the other shoe. I found the other shoe, and this. I got this." And then I think, "What if I just fell into the garbage?" So, "Oh," and it looks like the thing swallowed me up. It was really so, I did that, and then I crawled all the way down, and I said, "Well, was that funny?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that was funny, great." And then, I think that was it. I think that was all that scene made into the movie. I don't know if we found
Mhm.
other things, but that got in the movie. Uh, but later on, I found out when they were doing the cast screening, they do a screening just for the people who worked on the movie.
Mhm.
And they're invited, and you go and you bring your girlfriends or your boyfriends, whatever, and you go and you sit. So um, I'm entering the movie theater, and the director, this James guy, is standing there as you walk in the door. And as I pass, he says, "Larry, come here. I want to talk to you." So I come over, and he goes, "I want to apologize for the way that I treated you on the movie." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "I thought they had hired a guy who had taken some LSD before coming on the set. Why I was talking to you so slow was because I thought you were on LSD, and I didn't wanna bother you, and I was afraid you would freak out, so I just ignored you." I said, "Are you serious?" He says, "I'm very serious, and I apologize." And I said, "Oh, man, cool. It worked out, I wasn't insulted. Fine, but he admitted it. Now, I'm not gonna tell you another story like that, but I've had several films where I was a guy on a high on marijuana or whatever, and the director thought, "Oh, no, 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 it was, Hey Landlord," the movie, the sitcom Hey Landlord, a black and white sitcom. So it was,
Mm.
again, back when I was young, and I was a Hell's Angel. So I came dressed as a Hell's Angel. And on TV, you don't meet the director until you get on the set. And I was in full costume, and I had a gang with me, a bunch of actors who were dressed as badasses, Hell's Angels. So, and I was the leader. And I wanted the Hey Landlord was this guy was renting out rooms in his house to make extra money, which was illegal in wherever he was. So it was, he had a so I wanted to rent a room for a night because we were having a party in the neighborhood and we needed a place to crash for the night. So I wanted to rent the thing. Okay. And Jerry Paris was directing it. And Jerry Paris at that time was a big time director, TV director. Jerry Paris. Everybody knows him. He's gone now. But Jerry Paris wouldn't talk to me at all. And when he did talk to me, he'd say, "Would you stand over there? Just stand over there and say your lines." And he wouldn't come near me. And I didn't make any connection. But later on, when I talked to him, we became friends. And at some party, I met him. And he said, "I got to apologize to you, Larry." Again, the same thing. So why? He says, "Man, I thought you were just a Hell's Angel. And if I didn't say the right thing, you were going to sock me or fuck me up. Just stayed away from you." I say, so that's and again, it's because I'm so relaxed in whatever and I don't talk to anybody. I'm trying to memorize I'm trying to keep because dyslexia, I'm trying to keep my
Right.
head straight. Don't bother me, man. And even in auditions, when you're sitting in that room alone, not alone, but with everybody else, generally that's what it is. It's like a cattle call. That's what it is, a cattle call.
Yeah.
But I don't talk to anybody. I just sit there and try to just, concentrate and memorize and remember my lines. And everybody else is chatting. And that was the one big thing about being an actor or not being an actor is I could never relax. I mean, what are these people doing? And either I would get the job or not. But somebody in that room who were all chatty and, talking just like, if you were at lunch. I said, Somebody got the job and they were how can you do that?" And then they would try to talk to me and I would, give them a word or two and they would think I was either stuck up or weird. And I had to live through that. That was the worst part, sitting in the audition room in a cattle call and everybody's talking to one. They all know one another, man. They all Michael Richards from,
Mm.
Kramer from
Mhm.
Seinfeld. We auditioned a lot together for a lot of different things because we were we looked the same, tall. We even worked together doing some show. It was a restaurant show, but we were brothers who were going to rob the place. So that's why, uh, and brothers, we looked like brothers. The funny part was that on the set we just had memorized lines, blah blah blah. We did it, and that was fine, everything. But then we had an in one scene where we were escaping. So they had a truck up on wheels in the studio, you know, and the director had another scene to direct before coming to us. So we were away from everybody, just sitting in the cab of a truck, and they had a green screen behind us, so it looked like we're driving. But now we became friends, Michael Richards and I are still friends, I guess. He was the one who recommended me to imitate him on,
A
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
He
Mm.
said, "Get Larry Hankin, we played brothers together, he could do me probably." So, they hired me because of that. Larry
Yeah.
David did. So, on this one thing where we're playing brothers, we're sitting in the cab of the truck, and we're running over our lines, getting them reeled down and being cool and figuring out. And man, we would argue until the director showed up, just back and forth, because he's very funny, man. I mean, Michael Richards is
Mhm.
funny, but so am I. The difference is that he goes over the top and I go under. I pull back and let the audience do the work. He gets the audience. He goes for the throat of the audience. Coming through the door, Kramer coming through the door.
Right.
I could never come up with that, you know? Okay, so that's what we were arguing in the cab of the car for different lines. I said, "No, no, we gotta go down, we gotta go." She says, "No, no, we gotta go up, we gotta go up." And I'm saying, so we've finally we're stopping to be friends. We're just like arguing over. We could have been arguing over money. It didn't matter. It just we were arguing, and the director came. He said, "What the hell is going on here?" Because he heard us. He says, "No, no, man, come on, let's no. Well, why are you doing that?" He says, so he had us run it. He says, "Okay, okay, tell you what." It was pretty intelligent of the director. He said, "All right, do it Hankins' way," and we did it. And he says, "All right, do it Michael's way." And we did it like this. He says, "Yeah, yeah, okay. All right, forget that." And he gave us a new way. So we didn't do it either. But I mean, yeah, those kind of things. It's either me or if you notice, Michael has not worked since that comedy thing he did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Mm.
so yeah, we both I left on purpose and he was ostracized. He couldn't work. Nobody would work with him anymore.
Mhm.
Uh, but that's the part of acting, of being an actor in Hollywood that it just gets my goat. It makes me angry. Like or the audition or arguing with Michael or I want to do it my way. So I'm not. An actor has to follow directions. And the way I look at it is as you have to be good, beg for your job, and do what somebody else says. That's not me. Not me. I want to do it my way. Uh, I'm an artist. I don't tell me to put red when I want to put brown. Don't tell me that. Yeah, you don't like brown? Go away. Don't buy it. It's fine. Don't tell me what to paint. Fucking canvas. It's my paint. Get out of here. It's and that's not good in life either. I mean, you gotta get along to go along. I understand that. But in movies, because it's an art form, I take it a little more personal. And you really can't. And the really good actors are not like me. I'm like I hang around musicians. They're more I can I'll listen to them, I'll behave in front of them, I won't get mad at them, and we can talk blah, 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 blah. We're not in the same, profession. So we give, oh, okay, you do that and I do this, but we can meet here. With acting, it's all the same art form. You're a director, but I'm an actor, but you're an artist, but I'm an artist, and we're making a movie together.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that I left. I now I see, and I started up as a stand-up comedian again, and I was opening for Woody Allen and Miles Davis and
Nice.
a lot of those big stars, nightclub acts. I was the opening act. Um, so I could do whatever I want. If the audience laughed, I would be hired. If the audience didn't laugh, I wasn't hired the next time. But it was up to me. There was no, why don't you say this instead of that? Nobody ever said that to a stand-up comedian. They just said, well, that's not funny, and that's funny. And the mindset of a stand-up comedian is you go where the laughs are. You just follow the laughs, but you can't say that. Yeah, but it's funny. I gotta say it won't work if I don't say it that way. So anyway, another long story. I just get carried away because it really is an impression on your brain being an actor and working in Hollywood. I just want to report that it isn't all, you know, smiles and ice cream. It's just, you know,
I know like our time is running a little short, so Jeff and I'll just ask like one more question to you each. I want to ask you about Money Talks and your scenes with Chris Tucker. Obviously, you're the guy
yeah.
that's like doing the ticket scalping. So I have a statement and I have a question. My question for you is what it was like working with Chris Tucker. And my statement is something I've been waiting to say for almost 30 years. Luther Vandross is culture.
Now, wait a minute. Say that last part again.
Luther Vandross is culture because your character said he wasn't.
Oh, man. Okay. You can't hold me against something that
Well, the
some
character,
great
not you. I'm sure you.
gun pointed at my head. No, uh, no. Chris, he's great to work with, but he is like Michael Richards, and he knows he's funny. And I would. There's a scene in there where I'm on the phone and I'm saying certain things that could be funny. But the director was a what do you call it? COD. Uh, uh, he wanted everything to be perfect. One
Okay.
of those. And Chris was a funny guy. So when I'm on the phone, they must have shot that about 5 or 6 times, and it's a really short scene, and it doesn't deserve to be filmed 5 or 6 times. But each one of them was telling me how to say it so it was funny, which never works.
Hmm.
You can't tell somebody how to be funny. That's something that's an inner rhythm. So I don't have Chris's rhythm, and the director had no sense of humor at all. So between the two and me trying to say it my way and his way, so it never came out funny. Either way, I did it Chris's way, I did it my way, I did it his way. It just wouldn't work. Maybe it was the way it was written. I thought it was funny, 'cause when I first read it in the script, I said, "Oh, well, there's a little piece of just me talking on the phone. I could be funny." But they didn't laugh and they didn't think it was funny on take one. So I did it again on take two, and then on take three, I did it Chris's way. On take four, I did his way. Then Chris gave me another way to do it, and then I tried to do it and he just said, "Okay, moving on, moving." You wait for that phrase, "Moving on." Cool, 'cause it means you're finished with it. And even when I saw the movie, I thought it didn't work. I don't even know why. I guess the words that I was saying were important to the plot. Maybe I don't know, but I don't know why they kept it in the movie. Uh, yeah. So that was it. Yeah, there's certain things. Do you remember Van Damme did a prison movie,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Death
Death
Warrant.
Warrant.
Mm.
Death Warrant? I love that part. Again, I was a junkie. I was the guy who sold drugs in this prison to the and then when the guy burned me up and they had this close up and this scream, that's the one thing that I always dreamed of. That's the only thing that I ever really dreamed of doing, having a death scene, dying on camera. I've done it 3 times, and it was glory. Dying on screen is
What's so sad when they killed you off in that?
well, it was a great death scene. First of all, they photographed it so if you I don't know if you remember, but to me, it sticks
Yeah.
in my mind. They photographed me so close that all you saw was my nose. It was just and the camera was, here,
Mhm.
and it was that close, and they were filming, and the she was up, and this big nose, and then, and then the fire outside. But it was great. But there's one scene where I was selling it, and you could see they had the dark circles under my eyes, and I love that picture. I love that scene of because it looked like I was really into it. I was really a junkie and stuff. I mean, I love the artifice of reality. If it really works, you think, "Oh, I really believe that." That's what gets me up. But that I like to watch, but the fact that I was in it and watching it,
Mhm.
when I watch the movie. Um, yeah, there's certain things that I enjoy about being an act yeah, being an actor, but generally, I'm glad. Really, what I'd like to do, and now it's kind of too late. Um, o- when I was younger, and all the things we talked about in those days, I dreamed of writing a movie and directing it myself. And Sally's Diner was like that. I made a film short, and it got an Academy Award nomination.
Yes.
And I wrote it, directed it, produced it, starred in it. So that's but I'm I'm on the creative side, and I don't like to be told what to do. I mean, that's why
Right.
with my father, he was just such a control freak. That's what I was trying to think of. He was such a
Mm.
control freak. It's crazy.
Mm. Um, well, I guess for my final question, I was going to ask about Solly's Diner, but I also want to make a statement and then ask my question, which might be a little more silly than any of the questions we've asked
Oh,
you so far. First, let me just say my comment. It has just been a pleasure sitting here talking with you because I could listen to you
cool.
tell stories all
Yeah.
day. Because again, growing up watching your career, on the big screen, on television, I mean, it's amazing because even though you can play all these various roles, in a kind of way, you're always you. And I think that's why you keep working over the years, even with certain parameters, because I think directors and casting agents, whoever cast you, I think one of the things is you're always going to be you. You're not going to sugarcoat things. You're going to do the job that you're hired for, but your personality is always going to be you. And
A lot of that's strange because a lot of fans bring that up, which I never thought about at all. They say, you were so real in that. I really, uh, and I don't know what they're talking about, except that now I'm beginning to understand what they're talking about, and that is I just play me because act. I can't act. Um, a couple of days ago, I did a film. In Austria, but I was in my living room,
Oh,
with an iPhone.
mhm.
I the guy wrote it for me. He said, "You can do it in your living room, just sit on a couch." It was an older guy. I played a guy my age, who was talking to, my son, who had a daughter that I was taking care of, a little girl, and all it was just a scene. The movie was about him and about the girl. I was just a side thing about I was taking care of the little girl, but I was getting too old to take care of the girl, and I was asking the father to please take her because of the divorce. I guess they had me
Right.
taking care of her while they went through the divorce. So he said, "This is an email, video. I guess a video email, whatever they call it." Saying, "Please, son, take your daughter back. I'm too old to do this." and, I sat on my couch and, see that the light is pouring in right there?
Mhm.
Just on
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, well, there's a couch directly on right right behind me, directly behind,
Okay.
and the
Mhm.
light from the kitchen went across my face. I sat on the couch.
Yes.
I didn't know that at the time. I was willing to blow it off. I thought, "This doesn't work." You gotta have a Panaflex. If you're not Panaflex, you're just kidding around, you know? So I had this, my iPhone, and I just sat there and talked to him like an email, blah, blah, blah. But the light and everything, and, it was, I think, what, 2 pages long, just, maybe even less. It was just I was just talking into the phone. Blah, 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 take your daughter back, blah, blah, blah. Okay, goodbye, your dad, boom. And I sent it to him, and he flipped, the director in Austria. "Oh, this is so magnificent, I lo," and so I looked at it because I had it on my iPhone. I had to send it to it. So I watched it, and I was like, "Man, it's not bad." I didn't even realize about the lighting. I was just sitting on my couch. He said you could sit on your couch and do it. So I just sat on my couch. But luckily that light, made
Mhm.
it look like it was staged. Okay, so you have a question or something, or was that it?
Uh, yeah, well, I enjoyed that story too. But my last question is: you appeared in a Janet Jackson video in the 1980s. Did you really have to audition, or was that like something your agent sent you on? And were you upset that you were the only person in the video who doesn't dance?
What movie? I don't know what the movie this is. What was it? It was a an
Um,
MTV video?
yeah, like what have you done for me
Oh,
lately?
that.
Yes.
No, the costume, speaking of, Sally's Diner, the costume designer, of a friend who worked in a costume department, but, the costume designer for Sally's Diner was also the costume designer for What Have You Done For Me Lately?
Mm.
And they said, "We need somebody to be behind the counter to clean up while everybody was dancing." So, I said, "Sure," I played a counterman. But I didn't even realize that I would be in the movie as much as that MTV video, as much as I was. But, interestingly, on the set, was the, Jackson 5. They came to
Mm.
see their sister,
Wow.
but except Michael. He didn't show up, but
Of
everybody
course.
else did, just to watch their sister. And now that family I noticed as a family, because my upbringing was so different. Man, they were all for her. Take after take after take. "Yeah, you go, girl," and "Yeah, man," and "Yeah, great, that was so great." And then they would talk to each other. "That man, that she's incredible." And they were. I thought, "Wow, man, that's a cool family." Now I hear the dad was really a badass. I mean, he's
Yeah.
incredible, you know. So I guess the kids stuck together and protected each other.
Mm.
But I had really admired that. I thought, "Wow, man, that's really cool. I wish I had a family like that." But, no, I didn't think about I'm glad I wasn't a dancer. I liked what I was doing, I got to be in an MTV video. I mean, that was my
True.
yeah, man, cool.
Well, Larry, thanks you so much again for coming on and speaking
Oh,
with
no, you
us.
guys are great.
We'll definitely pick up the book because I know you got like a million
Uh,
more stories we need to know
Oh,
about.
they're all in the
And
book. Probably every story I told you guys is somewhere in the book.
yeah,
Longer or probably shorter, but or longer. Yeah, there's 45. I have done 200 more, uh, uh, movies and TV series. So I picked out the best and most popular 45. And that's what the book is about. And it's called That Guy because nobody knows my name, but if I walk on the street, "Oh, you're that guy, man. You're that guy who lives in that thing? Yeah, hey, here's the guy, that guy. You know my name? No, no, you're that guy." So I thought I'd call the book that. Anyway, thank you. You guys are great, man. You
appreciate
let me
it. Yeah.
rattle on.
Thank you.
I'm a storyteller. That's what I am.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed.
It's a great quality, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to go back to being a stand-up storyteller. I'll tell the stories I told you, but on a stage and hopefully make it, incredibly funny. But we'll see. But I have done, they give me 5 to 15 minutes on a place called the Crow, which is a semi-hemi-demi nightclub coffee house. A little stage, maybe 100 people. And
Mhm.
they'll give me 15 minutes if I want to do something. So
Nice.
I'm keeping a finger in, just
Great.
to keep it.
Mm.
But thank you guys. You're really great. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay, rock on.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.